Everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. I have some updates to share about days 9 and 10 in the trial of accused pedophile and child sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell. And I wanted to share a few things I forgot to mention last week. First, day one is pretty simple to sum up. The judge announced that one of the attorneys became ill, and so everyone was sent home. But a few things I failed to mention is that there were photos that were shared of Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein spending time with Jean-Luc Brunel. So some of these photos were taken on Epstein's jet. There were others that have already been in circulation that were taken on Epstein's island, showing Brunel laughing and playing around with Ghislaine Maxwell. Brunel, as you may or may not know, was a UK-based modeling scout, and he ran a modeling agency. He was even a partner in a modeling agency here in the United States with Jeffrey Epstein. And Virginia Roberts Gouffre was one of the women who accused him of violating her, but she also accused him of bringing 11-year-old girls to Epstein as a birthday present. Brunel was arrested, if you're not aware, in December of last year. He's awaiting trial on his own charges of sexual assault, including the rape of underage girls and sex trafficking. And in fact, it was Gouffre and her testimony or her eyewitness account that helped to take him down. Her cooperation with the French authorities basically sealed his fate and led to his arrest. So that's one thing. But then there was another thing I wanted to touch on was that there were photos shown at the trial of Epstein and Maxwell at Queen Elizabeth's home. So the royal family can try to ignore this case, but it keeps smacking them right in the face. And so that leads us to day 10. So day 10 of the trial, the prosecution rested their case, but not until the fourth and final victim or alleged victim, her boyfriend and her mother took the stand. The alleged victim to whom I'm referring is Annie Farmer. She and her sister Maria both alleged that Epstein and Maxwell sexually assaulted both of them. Maria was in her early 20s, though, when she claims that both Maxwell and Epstein violently assaulted her in the home of Victoria's Secret's founder, Les Wexner. And because she was an adult at the time, she isn't part of this case. And she did reach out. She called the FBI, she called the police when it happened, and they did nothing. So she tried to get justice all the way back then. This was, I believe, in the 90s when this happened. In addition, her accusations and that of her sister Annie were removed from a Vanity Fair article in 2003. It was a profile about Epstein. And for some reason, the author just decided to strip that out of the profile. So, just disgusting. But however, Annie was 16 when she encountered Maxwell and Epstein, and she kept a diary in which she wrote contemporaneously about some of what she says took place. And her allegations and her circumstances really mirrored that of the other accusers. Her older sister worked for Epstein. It was a legitimate job. And this was while Annie, as the younger sister, was living with her mother in another state. Her mother was a single parent. She was struggling to make ends meet. And Epstein offered to buy Annie a ticket to visit her sister Maria in New York. So Annie arrives, he starts plying her with questions about her dreams, her aspirations, which included a higher education. She made it clear she wanted to go to college. So he suggested that she attend UCLA because he said he had connections there. So you see, he's laying the groundwork for, look, I'm going to do these favors for you. Then he also mentioned that he was thinking about creating an international summer trip and how it would look really good on her college application. So again, ooh, dangle this carrot. Look at what I have for you. So she said that Epstein took her and her sister to the movies. And she said, as soon as the lights went down, he reached over and he started caressing her hand. And then he interlocked his hand with hers, which really freaked her out. She told the jury, quote, "I felt sick to my stomach. It was not something I was at all expecting." Well, she wrote in her diary about this, and she said that she felt conflicted because although she knew that what happened was not normal or right, and those are her words, not normal or right, she didn't want to upset her sister, and she also didn't want to make her sister lose her job. She was afraid that if she spoke out, it would cost her sister her job. So she tried to justify his actions. She wrote in her diary that maybe he liked to be flirty or fatherly. She just tried to reason it away. Then Farmer testified that she spent a weekend alone with Epstein and Maxwell at his ranch in New Mexico. I'll explain how that came to be in a minute, but she said she thought that it was going to be okay because Maxwell was going to be there, because she thought, oh, they're a couple, nothing's going to happen. He's not going to do anything like that. At first, the couple made her feel special. She said they took her on a shopping trip and then they took her to the movies. Well, Epstein continued with this inappropriate touching, the caressing during the movie. She said that he didn't even try to hide it. So clearly, this was not something that he was hiding from Maxwell. And she said that when they got back to the ranch, Maxwell then directed her to give him a foot massage. So this is how it goes. Are you comfortable with this? Let's see if we can push it a little further. See if we can push it a little further. Let's see if we can get you to do X, Y, and Z. Oh, well, how about A, B, C? So Farmer said, quote, "I felt very uncomfortable. I did not want to be touching his feet." I can relate. I don't like feet. I don't want to touch anybody's feet. But anyway, she did as she was told. She said she was kind of scared because she realized they were out in an isolated area. You know, she didn't know what might happen if she refused their orders and their advances. Well, after the foot massage, Maxwell, who, keep in mind, was 35 years old. She was a 35-year-old woman. Epstein was in his 40s. This is a 16-year-old girl alone at his isolated ranch. She tells Farmer, "Have you ever had a body massage?" Or she asks her. And then she said, "Oh, I really want you to have this experience." So she has Farmer go into a room, lie down on the massage table, unclothed. She put a towel over her. And she said that, you know, everything was fine. She massaged her back, massaged her legs, whatever. And then she had her turn over. And when she turned over, she said she pulled the towel off of her, or the sheet, and then she started groping her breasts. Under what circumstances is it appropriate to have someone else's child alone with two adults in a home and then have her get completely naked for any reason under the sun? But this is the kind of stuff they did. And her attorneys tried to reason this away at the trial, saying, oh, well, she just massaged her upper chest. She didn't actually grope her breast. She didn't touch her nipples. Seriously? Oh, okay. Well, that makes it okay then. These people are sick. So the following morning after that happens, Farmer says that Epstein came into her room and he got in bed with her because he said he wanted to cuddle. A grown freaking man, 40-something years old, wants to cuddle with a 16-year-old girl. So she said that he gets in bed, he starts pressing his body against hers, and she used the excuse of having to go to the bathroom because she wanted to get away from him. So she said, quote, "I wanted to be in there long enough that this whole situation would be over." She said that when she left New Mexico, she tried to bring up something about school, a paper that she was working on with Maxwell, and that Maxwell was completely disinterested. So she realized, you know, they had no interest in me as far as schooling goes. She did, however, admit that Epstein paid for a summer trip to Thailand and to Vietnam. And she said, I wouldn't have been able to afford that without him, but she hoped that she would never have to be around them again. And apparently she wasn't around Maxwell ever again. So, that's on a positive note. But the defense tried to undermine Farmer's testimony. They pointed out that she didn't write about the New Mexico trip in her diary. Well, yeah, you wouldn't necessarily want somebody finding that, like your mom. And it kind of really fell flat anyway. Beyond the obvious reasons for why she wouldn't have written about it. Like I said, her ex-boyfriend and her mother testified, so they really undermined the defense. Her former boyfriend, David Mulligan, testified that she shared the details about that massage with Maxwell just months after it happened. He said, quote, "She told me she felt fearful and awkward and helpless." And then Farmer's mother testified and said that she was lied to by Epstein. This is how this trip came about. She alleges that Epstein got her on the phone and he got her to agree because he said he was going to have 20 to 25 academically gifted boys and girls at the ranch, and that his wife, Ghislaine, he referred to her as his wife, according to this woman's mother, that she would be there to chaperone the girls. But she said her daughter came home, she tried to find out what went on with it, and she refused to discuss the trip. She said she was completely quiet. She was withdrawn. And she said that all her daughter would say to her was, quote, "I'm not going to let it ruin my life." You don't want to hear that from your kid, right? Because that's something that obviously could ruin your life. So the trial will resume this Thursday. The defense has a few days to prepare, and they're going to be presenting their side of the case. Now, here's the thing. I know I mentioned last week that this might end earlier than we thought, but that doesn't seem to be the case now because the defense is expected to call 35 witnesses. So this very well may drag into next year, as the judge suspected, but they say that they're still having some issues with travel arrangements for some people who are traveling long distances. Plus, I'm thinking it's getting close to the holidays, so we'll see how this all works out and if they're able to get all 35 of those people. In addition, Maxwell's defense says that there's 3 witnesses who may decide not to testify at all unless they're allowed to use an alias or just their first names. So the judge is going to have to rule on that, but I can't understand why someone who's not a victim and who claims that the defendant did nothing wrong would want and need to remain anonymous. That doesn't make sense to me, but I'll keep you guys posted on that. All in all, though, didn't seem like the defense did that great of a job last week. Their only argument for all of the 4 alleged victims was, well, you didn't say these exact same things to investigators when you gave previous depositions. When you were in a room full of maybe a dozen or more people, including strange men staring at you, given the fact that many of these girls were allegedly threatened by Epstein, and the fact that sexual assault victims in general don't want to talk about what happened, they often feel ashamed and humiliated and devastated. Is it really a mystery as to why they didn't just blurt out the entire story right when it happened or shortly after or whenever? Anyway, guys, I will let you know as I hear more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Take care. I'll talk with you soon.